We all love a flower when it opens in a glorious explosion of spirit. But have you ever wondered just what forces shatter that tight bud to reveal the flower? I've had many of those shatterings in my life. My father died just before I turned 20 and got married. That husband nearly killed me pounding my head on the floor. My mother committed suicide 7 years later. My brother got lost in drugs and eventually killed himself too. By the time I was 27, I was so suicidal, I knew I had to find a completely different way to live than I had been taught. I did not yet know that on this journey I would discover a hidden wellspring of joy. I did not know that I would become one of the top 6 precision wax carving specialists in jewelry in North America, that my paintings would win awards in international competitions, or that I would write books published in 6 languages. Over the years, as these events unfolded in my life, I learned a lot about creative consciousness and how that can help make the difference between living and dying. For the amateur artist, just being in the mood to create is an unexpected gift. This inspired state comes and goes of its own accord, random, out of control. The truly professional artist has to learn how to deliberately invoke the muse, to move into that creative state at will. The first step is actively engaged interest. My husband, Bern, provides a great example of how that can work. I was driving our van to a jewelry show, and he was over there in the passenger seat. He took his shoes off and put one foot up on the dash and saw the reflection of his sock in the windshield. He promptly designed a spectacular $1,500 gold pendant just from the shapes in the glass. Most people don't see jewelry designs in the reflections of their socks. Most jewelers don't. But Bern caught that vision. This is something that can be practiced. We can all become more alert, learn to observe and notice more deeply. However, this is not the only step in inviting inspiration. Times of quietly receptive relaxation are equally important, even if they're in pretty short supply in our hectic lives. It was no accident that Bern saw that pendant design when he was just riding along, not doing anything in particular. The door opens wide to inspiration at those moments. When my little red-headed daughter Aloria was 2 years old, she watched me throwing miniature porcelain pots in my clay studio. I centered a ball of clay on the potter's wheel, shaped it into a cone, pulled up a little wee pot on the top, cut it off, set it aside, pulled up another one, cut it off, etc. I could throw as many as 50 pots from one ball of clay. Apparently, to her 2-year-old eyes, it looked like Mommy took hold of the clay and little magical pots appeared. She eagerly picked up a piece of clay and squeezed. And to her horror, all it did was go squish. That is the moment when we first recognize the need for mastery, when our dreams just go squish. Inspiration comes with an excited quickening of energy, but mastery requires concentrated focus and steady practice. The lead singer of the musical group Debut knows how to play over 100 different folk instruments from all over the world. He once said that learning the first instrument was hard, but then all the rest were easy. The popular concept is that it takes 10,000 hours of practice to master something like that first instrument. What does this dedication accomplish? Mastery is what prevents us from wasting our inspirations. With mastery, we can embody inspiration in a form others can recognize. This combination of inspiration and mastery sounds like the complete creative process, but it is not. Transformation, the third component of creative consciousness, is the one most often overlooked and misunderstood. When we change forms externally, we also change internally. The casting process in jewelry is a particularly dramatic transformation. I take the torch, light it, and aim it into the crucible to melt the gold. The gold is in small pellets and maybe an old sprue button or two. They hold their form for a while until they glow red hot and slump into a puddle. Once that puddle moves like quicksilver, I let the centrifuge slam it into the cavity I prepared. I made this cavity by carving a wax for hours, days, maybe even weeks, and then burning it away. This is the story of my life and of your lives. Old forms being destroyed as new ones are created. As I notice these transformations, a greater sense of wholeness comes into the forms I create and into myself. Over time, these accumulate into enormous changes in the way I see myself and in what I want to create. Painting works the same way. The first thing I do when I begin a painting is destroy the pristine whiteness of a brand new canvas. Those first brush strokes aren't a finished painting yet. Frankly, they are a real mess. But if I stay with the process and take on one hand my inspiration and on the other my mastery of the materials and techniques and combine them, something extraordinary may happen. I once painted a poppy 5 feet wide named Angel Shadow. A good client bought it for her dying cousin. Later, she came back to me. Lexi, remember Angel Shadow and my cousin? She didn't die after all. She started to get better and the doctors don't understand how. But I know it had a lot to do with your painting. At first, I was really surprised. But then, if the creative process makes the difference for me between living and dying, why wouldn't someone else see that in my painting? This life-giving process, unfortunately, is largely absent from our collective energies of creation. Short-circuiting transformation in creative consciousness just lets creative ideas run wildly amok without that steadily increasing sense of wholeness and inner transformation, that increasingly healthy alignment it brings. As a result, we build a nuclear power plant that poisons an entire ocean. We create agricultural technology that destroys the fertility of the land. We knowingly build houses on earthquake faults and floodplains. We murder each other in appalling ways. This breakdown in creative transformation is lethal indeed. If our groups all practiced healthy creativity, our group creations would change drastically. But how can our groups change if so many individuals remain unaware of their continuous creativity, of that essential component of transformation? For this reason, I'm asking each of you to deepen your awareness of your own creativity. I'm asking you to notice as often as possible your own transformations as you create every day of your lives. I ask you to gently bring this awareness into all your groups. If nothing else, this will allow your spirit to blossom like a poppy in dawn light, bringing greater vitality into your life and into the lives of those around you. There is no greater gift we can offer.